Welcome to the March 29th Steamship Authority meeting. As we get underway, I've got a couple of announcements. I'd like to inform everyone that Sean Driscoll, the authority's communication director, is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting. Is there anyone else making an audio recording of today's meeting? If so, please identify yourself. If you are joining virtually, please press the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard, or if you are joining by phone, by pressing star 9 on your keypad, and when you are recognized, please state your name for the record. Unki?
Unki Sonu from the Martha's Vineyard Times.
Thank you. Louisa?
Louisa Hofstadter with the Vineyard Gazette. Good morning.
You? Okay, all set. That's it. Okay, pursuant to section 20 of chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, and in line with social distancing guidelines followed during the COVID-19 pandemic, board member Maura Tierney is participating remotely in today's meeting because her physical attendance today would be unreasonably difficult. Board member Tierney is participating in the meeting by the Zoom video conferencing app, and all members will be clearly audible to each other. Can you hear us, Maura?
Yes.
As a
Can you hear
result
me?
of the members, yep, we can hear you. As a result of the members' remote participation in this meeting, any and all votes taken by the members today shall be by roll. Our first order of business is approval of the minutes from the February 21, 2023 meeting in public session. Do we have a motion on this? Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor? We'll take a roll call.
Jeffrey, I.
Randy, aye.
Tierney abstain.
Beautiful. Next item, we have the Port Council report. We have Mr. Salito. Morning, Mr. Salito, can you hear us?
Unmute myself. Yes, I can. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Maura. Meeting of July of the 7th of March, 2023. The meeting was called to order at 9:03. Mr. Driscoll provided an update on the website project. The board at their February meeting approved a change order of $165,200. Mr. Murnier asked for clarification on that change order. Mr. Driscoll stated it was determined that moving the launch outside of the period for the RFP was desirable, so the additional funding was needed to extend the development and to make the launch day, of 28 April 2023. Mr. Claudia updated the Woods Hole Terminal reconstruction project. Mr. Murnier asked what percentage of the phase was completed. Mr. Claudia said 75 to 80% was completed. Ms. Sullivan gave a PowerPoint presentation updating the safety quality management system. Mr. Reese asked Mr. Davis on the status of the Chief Operating Officer. Mr. Davis said that it was still in process of finalizing the details. Mr. Davis updated the council on the MV Monomy, the MV Aquina, and the MV Barnstable conversion bids. They were significantly higher than anticipated. Mr. Slater asked how much higher were the bids. Mr. Davis said the low bid was $20 million and the authority estimated 8 to 10 million per vessel. There were many questions by the council. Mr. Brault asked if the authority was considering rebidding the project. Mr. Davis said that was under consideration. Mr. Edmondson gave an update on the dry dock of the MV Woods Hole. Mr. Davis reviewed the proposed 2024 operating schedule. Mr. Mayor asked the rationale for continuing the 5:30 a.m. boat. Mr. Davis stated there was great demand for that trip. Mr. Roseman presented the January 2023 business summary. In a question from Mr. Lowell, Mr. Davis stated that the license for 41 North LLC will be brought up before the council at their next meeting. The meeting was adjourned at 10:09, 5-0 vote. Are there any questions from the board?
Questions from the board? Hearing none, thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
Our next item, the general manager's report.
Okay, first item is the website update, so I'll ask Sean to. Sure. Do that.
You want to say who's in the room before I get started?
Yeah. So, staff, in the room includes, Kurt Van Riper, Director of IT, Bridget Sullivan, HSQE, manager, Allison Fletcher, Shoreside Operations, and, Janice Kennedy, Human Resource, Director of Human Resource.
Good morning, everyone
Morning, Sean.
over there. Just a brief update on our status on the website redesign project. We're continuing user acceptance testing with our internal auditing team and Shoreside operations teams of functions as they become available. This week, the priority is getting the payment flow with credit cards released, and then soon to follow are the workflow for changing and canceling reservations and enrolling and updating waitlist selections. The Steamship Authority and Project 202 have been reviewing the tasks that are left to do prior to beta launch. And we've determined that moving that launch to late May is the best way to deliver the best experience possible to our customers. Both teams have been working extremely hard and diligently, but properly integrating these systems that run our business operations is a complex process that needs to be done right before we launch even a beta version. Project 202 is committing additional engineer and developer hours to that extended effort at no cost to the authority. And our total project cost now stands at 2.8 million, of which 89% has been spent. And our public engagement has been ongoing via the biweekly e-news and website updates as well. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions on the board, Mr. Malcolm?
Sure. Has there been any work on identifying the business systems or business processes that feed into the website? In terms of what needs to get done so that we get accurate information into the website?
And Bob can speak to this probably a little bit more also than I can, but we have done some internal work regarding streamlining those processes. Regarding the website, one thing that we've identified that we can do as a fast follow-up to the launch is allow the terminal employees to be able to update the standby lines directly into the website instead of having to do it through another system. So they'll be able to do it right there in line instead of having to relay that to somebody who will then relay it to the website. So that's an easy thing that we're able to do off the bat, but in terms of a broader look, let Bob add to that if he wants to.
So we'll continue to look at, ways that we can improve our internal communications, shoreside, marine side. As stated before, on a number of occasions, on most occasions, we try to err on the basis that we're gonna get a vessel if there's an issue, operating in background schedule. So we don't wanna be premature in canceling the trip. Being able to get a consistent message out as to a potential on how long that delay may be. We need to be working on coordinating those efforts a little bit more.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions on the board?
Thank you.
Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Driscoll.
Okay, so next we have an update on the Woodsall Terminal site work. Bill is with us today, so lead you through. So far right now, we're continuing working on phase 5F of the project, and that includes the area right in front of the temporary terminal building. So I think Bill has some slides here. So off the north side of the platform, the deck for the temporary terminal building, a stair tower had to be built. It's not ADA accessible, but you'll see off to the bottom right hand corner, there is a accessible sidewalk there that will bring the person to the other side, which is ADA accessible. In order to make this side ADA accessible, it would have involved a number of switchbacks and things like that. We just didn't have the real estate for it. And so, next slide. So here, working on some of the stormwater drainage that is in front of the temporary terminal building. Next. And just another view of that the same work. Next. So here they're raising these site elevation in front of the temporary terminal building. So we're raising it up to about 4 feet, 4 to 5 feet. So previously where we had the stairs that were going up into the temporary terminal building, it's actually going to be fairly level with what that level was before. So we're just preparing the site here. Next slide. Here they've compacted the site and getting ready to, at this point, they're getting ready to start laying the asphalt. You'll note that on the left-hand side, there is a barrier there. There is an elevation change between the two of them. There will be a fence that will be going up on that, those Jersey barriers in order to make sure that, because it goes from on the southern side, which would be the lower part of the picture. The terminal side is about a 6-inch rise, but then it drops off to about 2 feet. And then as you get to the northern side, it's the terminal side, it's a couple feet, and then it drops off a couple feet as well. So we'll be putting a fence along that to make it
May I ask a question? Is this grade that we're looking at, the finished grade? That's up 4 feet from where it was?
that's up 4 feet from where it was. Yes.
Thank you.
It does slope down towards the slips. So we haven't, that piece of it won't be done until we do the terminal feature of it, but it has been raised, and I should say 4 feet, it's been raised by the terminal, but we have to accommodate the slopes going down to Railroad Ave and Muscatine. So the slopes there haven't been raised that much. But we've gotten to the point where we have the slopes and the cross slopes that are accessible.
Thank you.
And the next, so as part of this project as well, there's a switch gear, electrical switch gear that has to be taken out of the freight shed. So we've taken a portion of the employee lot, and here you see the foundation work being done to put up a building to house the electrical switch gear, which actually the building is up at this point, but we don't have a picture of it. Next, and this is an aerial showing up to the employee lot, and then next. So for this portion of the contract, there were two additional change orders this past month. We've been storing material that came out of the pier that was previously there. Lawrence Lynch has been storing that, so there was some additional maintenance for that stockpile that we had, and then we had a break in the sanitary sewer piping from the ticket office during the past month. So there was a change order for that. So right now we stand at just under 3.3 million. So, and with that, I'll pass any questions you want to do.
First question is in regards to the temporary terminal not being ADA compliant. How does that impact us in terms of we just adopted a set of new policies in terms of ADA and Title VII being compliant with our federal grants and that policy?
So it is compliant. So actually, go back to the.
Did I miss her?
The stairs on the north side are not ADA compliant, but there's a ramp on the south side.
Okay.
So it is.
Okay.
So on this is the north side, so that's not compliant. But if you go, sorry, there's another.
So we are.
We
need to be compliant.
All right, that's, yeah.
So if you see here on up midpoint
Right.
on the right hand side there, that is compliant.
Okay.
On that side, and that's where the majority of our customers will be coming from, the staging areas.
My next question is, where are we in terms of pathway markings? Or is, you know, this change in terms of people accessing the office, accessing the boats through construction? I know that's been a big concern of the majority of people in town.
Yeah, so, out of it, they did actually go out and striped the staging area. But apparently they got a little overzealous and they striped too far for it, because in front of the staging area, our buses, the intercity buses and the CCIPA buses will be coming across. So that area that previously was the plaza, before, that's actually gonna be the pick up and drop off for the buses during the season. So we're looking at over by the north side where Cahoon Park will be, and making that an area where we can, people need to sit down or whatever. For this coming season.
And I guess my question, pathway mark, are we gonna have signage so that people know where they need to go, so they're not getting hit by a bus?
Yeah, we'll be working on making sure that these areas are designated properly and there's enough signage to direct people to them.
And going back to the policies we adopted because of the federal grant, will we have to have those signs in other languages other than English?
That's a good question. We'll have to look back on that. We'll find out.
And then, just the final question I have is, in terms of ongoing kind of impact on traffic flow, has there been any noticeable impact on traffic flow into the terminal, and more importantly, like kind of back up more than usual during this period of time?
Nothing that's been brought to my attention. We do have, obviously, with the employee, lot is not going to be accessible now for most of April. So our employees are parking over by north side over by Cahoon Park, and some of them are actually being have to be directed out to the back lot because of unlimited amount of parking there. But in addition to the switchgear installation, they are working on installing. We have our Wi-Fi towers on the freight shed, and that has to be relocated. So that's going to be relocated into the employee lot as well.
So we're not receiving any complaints about backups on Cowdery Lane or blocked access?
I haven't been over that house, and have you heard anything?
Great.
Again, it's this time of year, it's.
Reschedule it appropriately.
Mr. Miller?
Well, my comment on a couple of your things that Peter just raised, I've been in and out of the facility in Woods Hole 3 days so far this week. The staff on the ground, the agents and the people there haven't been a lot of signs or markings, but it's been very clear to people driving on and off the boats or walking to buses and so on in terms of what they should do. Basically, we've got people guiding people, and I think it's been, what I've seen, has been very effective. So I haven't seen any confusion.
Yeah, moving on. Moving on, next we have an update on the dry docking of the vessel governor, so I think Mark is in Fairhaven today, so I believe it's.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
The governor is in Senesco Shipyard right now at the early phase of the docking. Sean, next slide, please. And this is a picture of the stern end, and you can see the chain drive, and Right now, we've got the bottom washed and we're under the, with Coast Guard doing our structural survey. So we're still in the elementary early side of the docking. Next slide, please. The profile view of the rudder and propeller assembly. We've done all the readings. We will not have to pull the rudders or the shaftings. Everything is in good order on both sides. Next. It's a kind of a profile underwater hull view after the washing phase. Next slide. So the highlights of this dry docking include obviously hull coatings, structural steel renewals, and we haven't identified any steel to date, but we're not completed the inspection phase, blast and coating of the hull, and seawater piping renewal. Next, this is a financial snapshot. We're just at contract level of 1.17 million. We haven't updated the credits yet, and we haven't acquired any change orders as of yet. Any questions, anyone?
Thank you.
No questions.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Good. Island, the Vineyard Island residents will host when the governor gets back on the roads. So next we have an update on the safety quality management system certification. So Bridget Sullivan will come up and provide an update.
Morning.
So we do have some exciting news for the authority. We just completed our very first internal audit. Safety Management Systems LLC completed our internal audit the previous week. They're the same as the consultants who aided in producing our safety management system manuals. The audit was very professional and we were measured against our policies and procedures. We had such great support from both our vessel and shoreside teams. Our teams were audited with regards to their roles and responsibilities. The formal report has not been completed by SMS, however, for our closing meeting last Monday, their feedback was great. It truly showed how much we've achieved together in establishing a safety management system and where we are headed in achieving continual improvement. There will be some corrective actions to be made, which is quite normal from any audit process. Procedural feedback is expected and necessary to continue improvement. Once the report has been finalized, action plans will be established with target dates to address any outstanding concerns that were raised from the audit. But in a nutshell, our internal audit was a success. I'm still. Now that our internal audit has been completed, we're even more prepared and excited for our audit by RENA, the recognized organization that will be. Oh, Sean, sorry, next slide.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
You gotta give me something.
So now that our internal audit has been completed, we are more prepared for our audit by RENA, the recognized organization that will be certifying our safety management system. This audit will commence April 25th through May 3rd, and will focus solely on our shoreside procedures and processes. And again, we are very fortunate for the support of SMS, as the internal audit really was a first for many people within our team, and for being able to capture all different processes that make up our safety management system. Our team's success truly will be everlasting, and as again, we're really on the cusp of that. Next slide, please. With that, once the RENA ISO shoreside audit has been completed, we will continue with the preparation for the RENA ISM vessel audit that will commence in July. Just to recap, 5 vessels, Eagle, Gayhead, Katama, Nantucket, and Martha's Vineyard have received their first interim certificates. And in July, they will be audited to receive their initial certificates. All other vessels that have yet to achieve these certificates will be audited by RENA around the same time period. Target date is July for when all the vessels are back in service. It's important to mention that our recent internal audit did capture some of the vessels, to which has heightened awareness of how important our safety management system is within our organization and our vessel operations. Next slide, please. Which brings us to training, a critical focus here at the Steamship Authority. It is through our training that our safety management system will be successful, and we're proud to announce that our second safety fair will start next week. The safety fair is a 2-week event, and we have had various department heads take the lead in organizing training opportunities for our teams. This includes customer service, de-escalation, first aid CPR, oil spill response, and multiple OSHA training modules. Again, continual improvement is a critical component of our safety system, and training is a primary tool to achieve that success. Next slide, please. With regards to the budget for the certification of our safety management system, of the $94,000 total contract price, we have only received an invoice for $2,200 at this time. These will only be incurred upon completion of said audits, the interim certifications, the initial certifications for both vessel and shoreside operations. Thank you. Any questions?
Questions from the board?
Yeah, comment and question, I guess. Number one, I think this is terrific. This is what was asked for in the 2018 consultants report, and it's all about training. And one of the hardest things I've found in my professional career is getting people who are over 35 years old to change their work habits. So to the extent this is getting people to change their work habit, do the things that are required, it's terrific. And it's training as well as safety, so I think it's great. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
I feel that the nervousness will go away.
All right, so next, want to provide the board with an update on our strategic planning project, which is yet another one of the initiatives from the HMS report. So, Sean. So for strategic planning initiative, for the past 6 weeks, Reptilis has been developing an overall schedule, which includes what they term as an environmental scan, as well as conducting initial interviews of key stakeholders. But what they're looking at is that there's 3 basic questions that need to be asked and answered. What do we know to be true today? How do we hope to be, what we hope to be true in the future, and what must go well in order to achieve the desired future state. So, next. So, again, for the past 6 weeks, it's more to address the first question, what do we know to be true today? So they've been collecting a lot of data, reports, budgets, financials, operating schedules, runs pretty wide gamut of documents that they've been looking for. And they've also been conducting stakeholder engagements. They've probably should at this point have been reached out. They should have reached out to you all. So next. So they developed the framework. So as I said, interviewing the board and board council members. I think there's a couple that still need to be interviewed. They did employee interviews with staff, and then they went and interviewed terminal employees and vessel employees. There's an employee survey that they have. It's concludes on Friday. So we've been encouraging our employees to go online and to do that survey. And then they're identifying, and in some cases already reaching out to some community partners in terms of their input into this. Next. So the milestones that we have going forward here, they'll be back at the beginning of May. May 1st, they'll be working with staff in a workshop about some of the issues that they identified in the first stage. There is a workshop that's planned on May 2nd. So May 2nd, we have a board council meeting that morning, and then we expect to have a workshop with the board, a joint workshop with the board and board council, following the board council meeting on the 2nd. They'll be soliciting additional input in June and July. Finalizing that in August, developing some strategies by October, and then coming back with a prepared and adopt a strategic plan sometime in November or December of 2023.
That's it. So we should schedule something on May 2nd here.
Yes, there already should have been a request sent out to everyone to set that aside.
That'll be here.
That will be here. The Port Council in May meets here, so we anticipate we'll here. Cool. With that, any questions?
Questions on the board on strategic planning?
I have one.
Mr. Devon.
Bob, do you know, it just, is it during the workshop that kind of summary of the data will be shared with the board and council, the board council in terms of the environmental scan? I think it would be helpful to know where I am as a board member in terms of what I see or the strengths and deficiencies of the authority and what we need to address in the strategic plan, and see how my ideas line up with that of the other board members as well as that of the authority's management and employees. So
Yeah, so in terms of that, we'll be coming back at next month's meeting with an update from them. And I'll be able to get a better sense as to when that information will be made available to the board and board council before the workshop.
okay. Thank you.
Anything else from the board? And moving on.
Okay, next we have the proposed 2024 operating schedule. To get to the
Yes, it's the gentleman here.
So in your packet is a preliminary draft of the proposed 2024 operating schedules. Try to break it down in terms of comparison to this year's schedule. On the vineyard route, you'll see that the level of service that we're proposing to operate in 2024 is nearly identical to what we had for 2023, what we have for 2023 and prior years. The operating schedule for 2024 starts on January 4th and runs as opposed to, and then so it starts one day later than the 2023, but it's going to end on the same day because it's leap year in 2024. And the winter schedule will have the Martha's Vineyard combination of either the Island Home and the Nantucket, and the Kmart. Excuse me, Island Home, the Nantucket, and also the Woods Hole will be available as per part of that schedule. The Island Home has its dry docking in 2024, so it won't be available in June and March. Then moving on to spring schedules, they start 3 days later. Excuse me, they start 3 days earlier, and then 3 days earlier than in 2023. Yeah, did I say? I think I was wrong on this first one. On the first one, the next 3 days early. But again, the schedule is similar to what we have in this case. The Martha's Vineyard in 2023 is scheduled to go out for 3 days. The beginning of its spruce up period is actually 3 days in that early spring schedule this year, but next year it won't be. So that's why there's only one line for 2024. The summer schedule, excuse me, the late spring schedule will start 3 days earlier and then on the same date as 2023. And that's illustrated up above, and that's during the Memorial Day, through Memorial Day in the beginning part of June. And the difference being is that we take the larger vessels offline to address any issues prior to the summer season. Our summer schedule, meanwhile, will start on the same day and end on the same date as 2023. And we're not proposing any change in the level of service there. The Sandy running a single crew Monday through Friday. And the other boats being triple crewed. And then we get into the late summer. It starts the same day and ends 3 days earlier than 2023. And then the fall schedule obviously starts 3 days earlier, but it ends on the same date as the 2023 schedule. Next, on the Nantucket Road. Eerily similar to what we have for this year. Essentially the same. Again, a couple of date changes. We're taking into account that in the summer, the container is scheduled in 2024 for its dry docking as opposed to the yay head. So there's a slight difference in the summer schedule on which one of those boats are operating, but by and large, it's the same schedules throughout the year. We are looking at the INO. There's some concern as to whether there needs to be more service there in the fall. So we're looking at whether we either consider triple crewing the vessel through stroll weekend, or whether we just, it's gonna be a staffing issue. At this point, is the primary concern. It may be that we may be looking to buy some additional, it's gonna be an expensive extra trip, but on the weekends, an extra trip on the weekends, but we'll look at that as we go along. So, Allison prepared the staff summary. I don't know if you had anything you want to.
No, I haven't, I just got everything on that one, really.
Sorry.
Well, we should do a good job.
So we do have this advertised for public comments, and following the close of public comment will be making appropriate arrangements one way or the other. Anyone has any questions? Mr. Decker?
Of course I do. Even though this is my second year on the board, this seems to be like Groundhog's Day for the Steamship Authority Board. I have some specific questions just about, and I know that we're talking about the new freight vessels and moving forward later in the meeting, but several questions come to me from residents in Woods Hole about what the increased capacity of those new vessels will be once they go online, freight vessels will be, and if the same number of runs will be required once those freight vessels come online. And then I'd add to that my question, so will there be a change in level of service if we're increasing our capacity to carry freight on the new vessels? And then how is that impacted the capacity as well as the level of service? But having seen the animated discussion at the Barnstable Council meeting about the Steamship Authority's request to increase the vessel length size in Hyannis, which I think Barnstable gave a more animated welcome to the Steamship Authority than perhaps some people in Woods Hole.
I won't comment on the latter, but the former, at this point, we're still trying to evaluate what the capacity of the vessels are going to be when they arrive. They are backup vessels, so it's in terms of in particular the 5:30 trip in the summertime. That's the governor, so it's a drive-through, so we eliminate the the backup alarms and that. So and that's why at this point we're still we're proposing that service should be running. Obviously, we're hopeful that we'll be picking up some, and there may be some opportunities as we look at the occupancy to be able to consolidate some service to run fewer at certain times of the year. But at this point, until the naval architect gives us a representation of what the trucks are, and our experience has been is that when they do that, we need a crane to put the trucks in the position in order to accommodate them. So we're optimistic that piece of it is, fairly close, but I think until we actually, proof is in the pudding once the vessels arrive. The other issue we have is that the physics in terms of being able, the geometries of trying to get the trucks into the outer lanes and with the transfer bridges and the way that they are, granted, there's not going to be any doghouse in the middle, so that'll be helpful, but and that's why, at this point, we think every foot that we are able to save on that will be beneficial in terms of the loading of those vessels. Mr. Malcolm.
Yeah, to follow up on what Mr. Jacobs just said. Steamship is caught in the middle of the Cape Town and the islands between the forces of growth and the forces of character, development versus conservation. And I've been able to tell people on the island since I've been involved in the past 3.5 years, 3 years, that the capacity that we offered has been relatively the same for now the past 6 years. So I would be supportive of whatever move the state would make to maintain the capacity going forward and being what it has been. And if that means that we have more capacity on the new vessels and we eliminate a trip, then so be it, as long as it's economical and it makes sense with scheduling and crewing and so on. Keeping the, what do we call them, the car equivalency units, keeping those car equivalency units the same as we have for the past 6 years would be something I'd be very supportive of. And should we use longer vessels, I'd be very supportive of opening up more islander trips or availability on those vessels in the mornings going off the island and in the evenings returning to the island. But again, keeping the same capacity that we currently offer. Thank you. My opinion.
Yeah, so there's no vote required on this. We'll be coming back at a future meeting. Stay tuned. All right, so that takes care of it from me for the moment.
Thank you very much. Now we have the treasurer comptroller's report. Mr. Rosen, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Mark.
Good morning. First, we'll go over the business summary for the month of January. Yes, the month of January, passengers on the Vineyard route were up 25.9%. The Nantucket route 11.9%. Both routes combined were up 24.1%, or just under 24,000 passengers. This is mainly indicative of the quantity of trips that we ran compared to last year because of weather. You can see that carry over in the next few slides. So there's the monthly comparison.
So I'm sorry, you said again, so it's a weather-related increase in the number of trips this year versus last.
Yeah, so when we get to the trip cancellation slide, and I'll go over that.
Thank you.
It's also that January is being one of our slowest months. Any change in that ends up being a large percentage.
Yes.
Small base number.
Yeah, so here we can see the passenger vehicles, the pickups and cars and vans are up 11.3% on the Vineyard route, 5.5% on the Nantucket route, and both routes combined are up 10.4%, or just over 3,100 vehicles. Here's the monthly comparison. Freight vehicles, we're up 19.1% combined in both routes for 1,000 vehicles. These are one ways. The Vineyard route was up 600, just over 600 vehicles, and Nantucket was up over 400 vehicles. And here's the comparison, monthly comparison there. Here's we had a question on the Port Council graph, where last month we had it as a line graph, and when there wasn't a trip running, we go to 0. So Rob Muir asked us so we could format it in a different format. So here we show the amount of vehicles traveling per trip in each direction. So here are all the vehicles for every day of the week for the month of January. Go to the next slide. Here's just the freight trucks only on the weekday average. Blue is parting the toll, the orange is parting the Vineyard. And you can see how it reverses about halfway through the day. There's a pretty good image. And then here's the weekend traffic. You can see it dramatically drops down on the weekends. Not only time wise, but quantity throughout the day. Cars parked, that's a typo, top of January, I apologize. Both routes combined were up 39.2%. On the Vineyard route, we're up 1,300 cars. In Nantucket, we're down 2,500. Both routes combined over 1,300. Here's the comparison for that. And so here's the traffic I referenced earlier on the Vineyard route. We had 13 trips canceled for mechanical and 12 for weather for the whole month. On the Nantucket route, we had 10 trips canceled for weather, 0 for mechanical. Both routes combined for unexpected cancellations. We had 35 trips combined for both routes. Last year, we had a total of 90 trips in January canceled. We had none for mechanical and 63 for weather on the Vineyard route, and no mechanicals last year, and 27 on the Nantucket route for the month of January. So those trips is, the big driver of the quantity. And not only is the trips that you cancel, but it's also leading up to it, the fare people do stuff. Okay, so the financial snapshots. Operating revenue of $5,591,000 was higher than budget by $508,000. Other income of $244,000 was higher than budget by $191,000. Big driver there, interest rates compared to what we budgeted. Operating expenses of $9,314,000. It's lower than budget by $1.2 million. And then putting this all together, we have a net operating loss of $3,686,000, which is lower than budget by $2.1 million. That's timing. And some of it's timing, so I'll go over that. It's more on the expense side. And we do budget off the previous year's traffic as well. So having less trips helped out there. So here we can see every category outside of the automobile revenue is up. In the automobile is the way we allocated some of the standard fares, not as up as much as we thought on the budget, and some of the way we allocate the rate increases, where we didn't have the excursions did not go up at all, and that's the primary vehicles that travel in the off season, and that will balance out later on in the year. Okay, so for the operating expenses. I'm sorry, no, I jumped ahead. So there's a breakdown of where all the operating revenue is. So for the operating expenses now, we have the maintenance down to $680,000. That's a timing issue, about $600,000 on land side maintenance. Expenses, vessel operating, that's a driver of fuel. We budgeted $4.19 a gallon. It came in at $3.49 a gallon. As a FYI for this year, we're hedged about a third of our hedges, at about 70 cents lower than last year. We've already layered in all the way through September. The hedges. So all this together, we're down about 1.2 million in expenses for the month of January. Here's a breakdown of the operating expenses category. Passengers carried for the month of February or 5.8%. The Vineyard was up 6.7%, and Tucker route was down 0.6%. And total vehicle carried for the month we're up 1.2% on the Vineyard route and down 4.1% on the Nantucket route. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Questions on the board?
Point, Tom. Continue.
Yeah.
And just report the number, we'll make it. Next up, just want to give an update on where we stand on, reissued the board in January, reauthorized the reissuance, refunding the bond anticipation notes and reissuing of them. We had 4 bids. There were, high bid, the low bid was a net interest cost of 2.89%, just under that. These bonds got refund the ones we originally issued in September as part of the vessel conversion project. Our plan is to then, in September, reissue those bonds. So we estimated at 3% for this cost, and last September, these were issued at 2.42%. For perspective, the same bidder, Jeffries of New York, was the bidder last time, and was successful bidder this time as well. And that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions on anything else.
Questions on that? Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have procurement.
So the only item we have on procurement was a request for authorization to award contract number 19-2022 for the conversions of the freight vessels. At this point, unfortunately, I need to ask the board to defer this item. We've been continuing negotiation with the low bidder. We're close, we're working on its contract language at this point. We anticipate that we'll be able to get that worked out here in the next couple of days. So we'll be asking the board members to indulge us by convening a special meeting to vote on this next week. Because the opportunity to get these boats docked is getting narrower and narrower, so. Spread the word.
Questions from the board?
Yeah,
Mr. Malcolm,
I have a comment, thank you, sure. Speaking as a board member, was very distressed at the miss on the numbers that were put in front of us when we agreed to purchase these vessels. We relied on those numbers in making our decisions to purchase 2 and then a third, with an option on a 4th. And based on those numbers, we proceeded to now get bids back that is so far beyond I consider the tail of what we were told, knowing full well that we have change orders always inflate the final bid contract price. It makes me very uneasy, and I would encourage you and the authority as we look at the bid package and renegotiate the package to look for savings we obviously can make that are safe. If it means not cutting the vessels as we talked about and operating 1 or 2 of them in their current configuration on the Vineyard route, again, within the parameters that I discussed earlier about keeping the same capacity, but saving the money and deferring those conversions later. I'd ask that we consider that, because my real concern, in addition to the decision that I voted for based upon the information that's given to us, is that we have other capital projects that are in line that we're going to need capital for. And I would like to see, and I'm sure the board would like to see, the impact of these conversions on our capital going forward, and the impact that it then has on other capital projects, such as our IT review and overhaul, that are going to also need to suck up money. So to the extent you can factor that into our negotiations, then I appreciate that. And when we convene, I guess, next week to review a final bid, I'd be interested in seeing a plan for what we will do with our other capital projects as well, and how it will all fit in going forward. So that's my comment, and thank you.
Mr. Dickerson.
Just to follow on what Mr. Malcolm said, I would like to have the authority to figure out why we were, like an after action report of why we were so off on our budget estimates for the conversion. And knowing how and why we failed in meeting that will help us understand moving forward how you're doing the estimates and how we can evaluate when we're making these votes, whether or not your estimate is accurate. I don't know if that requires a motion of the board or. Not. All right.
I think we'll put together something. Obviously, we're not happy with, you know, the situation that we're putting the board in on this. We're not happy with that. You know, we were so far off on so many levels on what these estimates were going to be. It is an important project still. Obviously, we need the conditions of the vessels, as you're aware. You know, we need to be replacing them. We've considered options in terms of, you know, as you pointed out, potentials for savings and things like that. But we also try to keep that, you know, one of the guiding things of this is to make sure that we have vessels that are interchangeable and everything. So we're trying to balance those aspects with everything else. But, clearly, I know personally, I'm not happy that, you know, we missed by the margin that we did. Follow up here in terms of the other capital budgets. We haven't come forward with the capital budget because the uncertainty that this is causing to that. So we anticipate will be once we're able to nail down you know, the pricing and then a budget for that as well. We'll incorporate that into and update our capital plan going forward.
Mr. Jones.
Didn't we engage a estimator on these budgets and public schools? There was an estimator involved. The naval architect that we've been working with had at least if not two estimators that were involved. But obviously, you know, they're only as good as how close they come to what the actual quotes are. In this case, you know, part of it may be, you know, we'll have to look at it because, you know, whether it's timeline, even the timeline to be doing this was something that, you know, I guess we were thinking more aggressively in terms of being able to get these boats done. And, you know, that's obviously factoring into the prices that we got for the project. And in fact, the number of shipyards that ended up bidding on it, you know, there was a couple of them that indicated that, you know, it was too aggressive of a schedule for them to bid. I'd like to follow up on Mr. comment of using using two boats, you know, as they are. Well, no matter what, there has to be a stern modification. Here's a mess we have. But if we just incorporated that, what would be the loss or gain of vehicle spaces, you know, from what we're using to what we intend to use? And we could look into maybe accommodate three additional tractor trailer, the equivalent of three additional tractor trailer spaces. So that, you know, without doing that, I mean, is there a close, you know, gain to do that? There probably, in terms of space for trucks, it probably won't make a big difference. It will make a difference in terms of the loading abilities to have a longer deck and be able to get the vehicles to swing out into the sides. But you know, we're looking at, you know, without cutting them, it's about roughly a 20-foot round numbers, 20-foot difference, and you know, a car is 17, so we're looking at, you know, the ability to pick up car space going across it, that'd be 6 spaces.
So I'm gonna ask you one more question here. I hate the idea of cutting the ship. There's too much involved. From wiring to everything else. Is there any way we can get by without? When you make modifications like that, you're cutting the ship. As long as I've been in the marine industry and boat business there. Things don't always come out the way we anticipate.
It's, the issue would be is that, we would then be dedicating over half, at least half of our fleet, over half of our conventional ferry fleet to only be able to run on the Vineyard route. And so that becomes an issue in terms of being able to make sure that we're able to maintain the vessels that are on the Nantucket route. In the summertime, right now we have the container in the gate switching off CES for their dry docks during the summertime without something to replace. One of the new OSVs. It'll be, we'll have to look at a dry dock schedule that boat wouldn't be there. It involved perhaps Woods Hole operating more on the Nantucket run than it currently does. It probably would be that.
What you're saying was consultation, but don't rule out promising.
I think there's a follow-up, there's a follow-up to what Mr. Jones said, that was the reason for my suggestion that we cut one and not two. That is one that we can have the backup for the Nantucket route, and 2, that we don't have to spend the money. I share the concern of what happens when you slice a boat in half. Sort of like a hip operation, when you take your leg off and then put it in the piece and it don't work. Bad analogy, but yeah.
So what does this do to the timeline? Because last fall, we were talking about welcoming these boats in now or in the next month or two, and what are we looking at now?
Yeah, obviously, we're not gonna be having any ceremonies here in the next couple of months. The timeframe that we're working on with the shipyard is for basically delivery of at least the first vessel, basically about a year from now.
That's a non-cut vessel or a cut vessel?
That would be a cut vessel.
What about a non-cut vessel? What kind of be that? I'm sorry.
That would, we haven't had the discussions in timeline, but knowing what it's gonna take to be cutting those. I don't know whether Mark has anything to add, but I'd anticipate that it probably would save a month or so, but at that time of year, we have, sufficient capacity to do it. The concern is that we want to get these vessels done up here, get training done. Because we'll only have a short window in terms of, trying to project out our staffing levels. We get to the point where, May, June time period, we don't have the ability to be able to pull a whole cruise off and put them on for training for extended periods of time. So, granted, the trip up from the Gulf will be part of a training period, but it needs to be more than the crew that will be on the boat coming up. And we also need time, once they get up here, to outfit them some, and also to get Coast Guard inspections performed, because we'll have a temporary COI from the Coast Guard, the local Coast Guard down in the Gulf, contingent upon a final inspection by the local inspectors. So, Mark, I don't know whether you had anything to add in terms of a timeline for a cut versus a non-cut.
Yeah, the methodology of the docking and undocking is predicated on loading both vessels onto land at the same time and launching both vessels upon completion. So I think that's would be a major change and a cost change. It's $1.5 million per vessel to dock and undock the vessels each. So I think that would have a cost effects and also before, right now, the production schedule the shipyard has supplied is based on subcontracting out by an outside contractor to load the vessels and dock the vessels and undock them. So it would have an effect. In regards to time-wise, it would be probably something we would have to get from the yard. I think it is a significant change to not have to cut a vessel, but we would have to get some guidance in both time and cost reduction from the shipyard.
But back to some of the other aspects are that we need to be installing some watertight bulkheads and things like that. So I think, you know, the methodology on how they would get those in there would have to change as well, because I think what isn't one of them going to be right around where the cut is.
Yes, and that would change. And we also have, we have to place in some bulkheads for the GRT and to be under 1600 GRT, and those still would have to be done. So it's not like you don't have to do anything on the hull. There's still substantial work.
I just would say that I like Mr. Jeffrey's idea about doing an audit or report on the process, because I mean, this could be something we need to learn from, because this was disappointing. You know, and being so far off on estimates and all that just affects more than just, you know, it's a timing issue. It's getting this all done, and it's, you know, now we were at one point recently, we're possibly looking at putting this all back out to bid again. So this is big, and it's disappointing that it happened this way.
I don't disagree with any of your comments.
Okay, anything more on that? So we're gonna have a meeting next week, is that correct?
Yeah, the anticipation is that we'll be able to work out the contract language here. The pricing has been some fine tuning of that, but we're in we know what the ballpark is that we're dealing with at this point. The language needs to be done, and we didn't feel it was appropriate to, you know, provide the board with a contract, you know, a couple hours before the meeting to say, you know, we want you to commit to this without some due diligence. So the plan is for the contract language to be worked out. Probably gonna have to make a quick trip down to the yard, just to see the facilities, but also to sit down with them and go over the project plan to see how reasonable the approach that they're going to be using to do these vessels is. As Mike mentioned, it's a complicated thing for them to be taking these things out of the water and putting them up on the dock, as opposed to them just going into a dry dock that ends up getting getting raised and work being done there. So we want to we'll be sending it, at least a couple people down to take a look at this. So
You think that meeting might be?
we're looking right now, it probably will be Wednesday.
Okay, anything more on this topic? Hearing none. All for procurement,
That's it for procurement.
old and new business,
I have one new.
go for it.
So I'm pleased to announce that the former director of the Maine State Ferry Service will be joining the Steamship Authority as the organization's chief operating officer. The COO is one of 10 recommendations contained in the comprehensive review of the authority's operations by HMS Consulting. The COO search had been suspended during COVID. But in 2022, the board asked us to renew those efforts. We held a national search for the position. And Mark Higgins has is our incoming chief operating officer. He has more than 30 years of commercial and public sector leadership experience. As I mentioned, most recently, past 5 years, he's been with Maine State Ferry Service. Provided oversight in the operations there, directed the staff to deliver service to 6 island municipalities. During his tenure, he worked to modernize ferry operations, including overseeing the design and construction of one of the nation's first ocean-going hybrid electric passenger and vehicle ferries. So, in doing this, attracting and accomplishing marine professionals such as Mark, of Max caliber to the Steamship Authority underscores our commitment to enhance and evolve service offerings as we chart our course to the future. And I think it's also a testament that the Steamship Authority's status out there is that we did receive a number of good applicants for the position. So Mark Higgins is with us today. And so I just wanted to introduce him to the members of the board and public. So Mark, I don't know whether you had anything you'd like to say.
No, I just wanted to say I'm excited to be joining the Steamship Authority. It's a great opportunity. It's great to be home to Massachusetts. We have a lot of friends and family in Attleboro.
I don't think you're not picked up.
The home viewing audience.
Yes.
So I'm glad to be joining the authority. This is a great opportunity. I'm hoping to bring my experience from the Maine State Ferry Service and my prior experience in the commercial sector to help the authority meet its goals. I have a lot of construction experience and a lot of experience in sustainability, specifically in design and construction of electric ferries. Before I left the ferry service, we were completing design of a double-ender electric ferry for Islesboro, and we had a electric ferry construction at Sonesta Marine due for delivery in December of this year. So I'm looking forward to it. Welcome aboard. Thank you.
No.
Mark Higgs, Higgs,
Okay.
Higgs, Mark H is fine.
We save on nameplates because we don't use
Matinicus, which is about 23 miles offshore, Vinyl Haven, North Haven, Islesboro, Swans Island, and Frenchboro.
Is this subsidized group?
They were subsidized 50% by the highway.
I thought you was.
Okay, love to talk.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any more questions?
No, if I may.
Yeah.
And I've said this has been kind of reliability, communication internally as well as the traveling public, and economic affairs, because we got no state money, it's all borne by the travelers.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that model. Was a member of the CDIT board for Casco Bay Lines. The Department of Transportation had a board seat, so I served on that board. And they're a quasi-state agency, but all of their operations are funded through fares and fees. So it's a very different model than what we ran at the Maine State Ferry Service. For example, a fare to go to Island is like $40.
Sure.
So it's a total different model. And I understand that.
Not more.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think it does it for me. Good job.
Does anybody have anything that the chair did not reasonably anticipate? No, I don't. Is there-
I'd like to thank Bob and the organization for going through, making it happen. I know it took a long time, but coming up with a qualified candidate and helping move this organization. So I think it's great. Thank you.
It was a tough decision. We had number of good candidates for the position and we'll be moving forward.
Public comment, do we have public comment?
Yeah, I will, Kate, go ahead.
I'm sure you're all aware, but I am Kate Warner, the energy planner at the Martha's Vineyard Commission, and we are offering an event on Friday that some of you have already said you would attend, which is Fairies Now. Mark Higgins was actually one of our speakers, so mystery solved as to why he will not be speaking.
Sorry about that, Kate.
A little busy.
But that's great. And I just want to encourage people in the audience, you can go to Falmouth, to the Falmouth Public Library, the Herman Room, if you would like to participate in the event there. Or you can go onto the Martha's Vineyard Film Center website and get the link. The Martha's Vineyard Commission email is down at the moment, so I can't send the link to people, but you can get it off the Film Center website later today. So I hope it's going to be a great event. We have speakers speaking from Denmark, Maine, and Washington State. In the afternoon, we will have Mr. Bob Davis speaking and Elliott Bay Design Group, John Waterhouse. The Elliott Bay revised report came out on March 27th, so there's some new information there that's very exciting to see. And we will also have Eversource speaking about the electrical supply issues for port infrastructure. So I hope it's a great day and I hope people will come.
Thank you. Okay.
I just want to double check who the lowest bidder was for the ferry conversions.
Alabama Shipyard is was the low bidder.
Gotcha, thank you.
Louisa, we do have an update on the COO position for you, in case you weren't aware.
So I hear. I'm excited. And everybody in the newsroom's already buzzing because the email has dropped. But when I became a reporter 23 years ago, I quickly learned I had to ask questions that I was told never to ask people while I was growing up. Is it permitted to ask what Mr. Higgins' starting salary will be? Or is that Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks. And congrats.
Thank you.
That's all I see.
Okay, hearing no more public comment, I would like to entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss and approve the minutes of the authority's meeting and executive session on February 21st, 2023. And to review the authority's strategies with respect to litigation, real estate, security, and collective bargaining negotiations, because a public discussion of these matters may have a detrimental effect on the authority's security and or its negotiating and bargaining positions. These matters include Captain Albert Brox et al. Versus the Woods Hole Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket Steamship Authority et al. Status of potential sale and development of 31 Easy Street, Nantucket. Shoestring Properties LLC's proposed development at 110 and 115 School Street, Hyannis. Status of potential sale of 200 Main Street, Hyannis. The deployment of security personnel or devices. And anticipated and ongoing negotiations with Teamsters Union Local 59 and its maintenance employees. Public disclosure of any more information with respect to these matters, would compromise the purposes for which the executive session is being called. I had this memorized too.
Deep breath.
After the conclusion of the executive session, we will not reconvene in public. And may I have a motion? There's a second, so we'll take a roll call on that. All in favor?
Jeffrey, I.
Randy, aye.
Tierney, I.
We're in executive session.
Thank you.
About 10 minutes. I'll get 11.
You need more to log off? Or
Yeah.
just,
I can't close it off without kicking people off, so.
Okay, Maura, can you come back in, but, log back in about like 10 minutes?
Pardon? I didn't hear you, Bob.
Can you, log off and then log back in about 5 or 10 minutes, so, we can
Sure.
show the queue? Thank you.
Sure.